Today we're going to build a body armor slash gear rack, and just like when I was overseas, we're going to have to use what we have on hand because that's just the way that we do things around here. And that means today we're going to be using this old skid that I've got. So it's not your traditional skid. This skid happens to have a nice piece of plywood stapled to the top of it. So this is what we're going to use, and this is all we're going to use. So stick with me, and maybe you'll enjoy this project. Let's get started. Okay, with that skid broken down, you can see what we've got to work with. I've got 3 2x4 sections there. I've got the large piece of plywood, and I've got these oddly shaped little other boards, these little cross support boards that were on the bottom of that skid. So this is what we're going to use. We're going to get this cleaned up, and we're going to start this very simple build. After a little bit of scraping, sanding, and planing, went ahead and took 2 of those main 2x4 pieces and screwed them together. So essentially, I now have roughly a 4x4, roughly. So the perfect thing about that particular skid was those 2x4s were exactly the right length that I wanted. So now we're going to go ahead and cut down this piece of plywood to make our base. And that's going to be about 1.5 by 1.5 square. There you can see our 1.5 by 1.5 piece of plywood, and I'm going to have to center up that main beam there and cut a hole right in the middle of it so that it passes through nice and easily. So let's get that done. I found the center of this board the easy way, drawing a line from each opposite corner, creating an X that found the center, and I roughly eyeballed where that center post is going to be seated. So let's go ahead and get that hole cut out. With the help of a jigsaw and a drill, or drill first and then the jigsaw actually, we went ahead and cut that hole right in the center of the board, and our post moves through perfectly. Still using only the wood that we started with, I went ahead and ripped some of those smaller boards down, and those are going to form the outside edge frame of this bottom platform. And I know that doesn't make any sense, so I'm just going to go ahead and show you what that looks like. There you go. That's what that looks like once it's all in place. All those boards have been cleaned up, sanded, scraped, planed a little bit, and screwed into place. So there you go. I've got an edge on my bottom board so that any gear that I have there won't slip off very easily. And here's the underside of that, and I went ahead and pushed that center post or center beam, whatever you want to call it, straight on through that plywood hole there, and that's what the underside of this platform is going to look like. Fairly simple so far. I'm left with only 1 2x4 here from our original wood supply, and as you can see, it is the original one I started with, as beat up as it is. We're going to go ahead and get this cleaned up a little bit, sanded, plane it out, cut off what we can't use, and go ahead and make the bottom part of the stand out of this single piece. I'll show you how that works. Cut into 4 separate pieces. You can see how I lined all that up. Each one had to be kind of custom cut to fit exactly how I wanted it, and they're just kind of sitting there in place right now before I go ahead and screw them in. And there you go. They're all screwed in, as you can see. Got 1 screw in the center and a couple nails on the outside to keep them from spinning or moving around. And that's how the bottom of the platform is going to look, and that's going to keep it stable. Flipping everything back over, this will give you an idea of what we've got to work with now. There's our bottom platform, perfectly stable, slightly off the ground, just the way that I wanted it. And it's going to give us plenty of room to put cross braces here for any rifles or anything that we're going to want to put in. And we're going to have the cross braces up here to hang body armor, gun belts, any other type of gear. And you can use this rack as any type of gear rack. It does not have to be a gun or body armor rack. It might just be some other type of sport you enjoy. Supplies are getting low on this project, so these are the leftover pieces from the boards that were ripped that created that outside edge frame on the bottom there. And I just took 2 other little pieces that I cut off that were scrap pieces and tacked those into place for the rifle rests there. But those longer ones are going to go up here at the top. And those are going to go across and basically make the arms where you're going to be able to hang other belts from or body armor. Since my verbal explanation was probably a jumbled mess, I'm just going to go ahead and show you kind of what I did here. Again, starting at the bottom, there's the platform. There's the rifle rests. And there's those cross arms for supporting body armor, or you can hang belts off of those. Now, I'm going to go ahead and tweak a couple things here, because essentially this is done. I've got a couple more small pieces like this, and I'm going to use those to make things a little tighter, a little bit more secure. But again, I don't want to use anything that we didn't already start with. However, at this point, you can feel free to start collecting other things you might have laying around, some old hooks that you might have, anything to customize your particular rack. And here's our finished product. As you can see, I've added a couple little pieces here and there as extra supports, and to make sure everything was nice and sturdy, especially those cross arms up there at the top, because those are going to have some weight on them. I'm thinking about putting some rope around this section here, you know, just kind of customize it. I might put some hooks around here someplace. I don't know, haven't quite decided yet. So again, this is pretty much the finished product though. And again, we used only pieces of wood from that original plywood skid section that I had salvaged. Anyway, let's go ahead and get this under some paint, because you know I'm going to paint it. And that'll be it. That'll be this entire project complete, start to finish. And there you have it. The entire project is complete and painted. Our body armor gear rack, which we built for free out of stuff we had left over, just like we used to do when I was overseas. There's the rope that I told you I was going to add, and again, does it serve any purpose? Nah, not really. It's just an aesthetic type of a thing. You can see that bottom platform. We'll go from there all the way to the top here. Those were just some stainless steel hooks that I had laying around from another project. Again, you can customize it however you want. It's your gear rack. Use it for whatever you'd like. And again, how practical it might be, I don't know. I don't know if you necessarily want all your stuff displayed sitting around your house, but it's up to you. You can use it wherever you want on a temporary basis or whatever. Thanks for joining me today. Okay, the video's over. Get back to work. You've got stuff to do. You don't need to be hanging around here. But before you go, hey, how about hitting that thumbs up button? Or commenting below. I'd appreciate it.